And 3, 2, and 1, and there we go. Well, Mary Katie, welcome back. Mayor's
Hello.
Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. I hate to do it, but we have to do it. You know, water.
Oh, talking about the issues I'm passionate about, you hate to do that?
Maybe some of the people that watch this program on a regular monthly basis get annoyed by it because it's all we talk about. But hey,
I feel like they're kind of big deals happening now. So.
You know,
yeah. What do you want to know first?
All right,
we got a lot cooking.
Yeah, exactly. So last week we found out we actually have to be doing some extra PFAS testing. Tell us what this means for the city, because now we're testing. We're testing for 2 compounds, and now we're testing for 6.
Right. Yeah, so first of all, you know, we have our temporary solution in place still. That's a thing. And it's resin bed and anionic exchange. And there's, I don't know, maybe 6 resin beds. So we've been testing monthly now because we want to know how long we can go until there's breakthrough. And we were on a pretty good pace. I thought we were going to make it the year. And then DHS and DNR came to us and said, hey, by the way, we got 4 new PFAS we want you to test for, so go. So once we added those 4 new compounds in, we were slightly above the 20 parts per trillion that we wanted to be, and also for notification purposes. So that's where we're at. Nothing has really changed other than we're going to have to swap out that resin a little bit more frequently. And as such, if you paid attention to the Wausau Waterworks meeting last week, you will have seen that we kind of accelerated the permanent solution so that we hope to be done by middle of next year instead of end of next year. So that's where we're at. It's costing the same amount of money. You're not going to see another increase based on this. This is all kind of out of that same pot. So we're moving forward, testing for more stuff, and we'll keep doing that.
Yeah, and from what I understand, there is, you know, an added cost to it, but there's cost savings elsewhere because you won't be changing out the resin as frequently. You could actually maybe on this next change out get all the way through to that point.
That's
where the gap
our hope.
Is online.
We had budgeted in our application to the PSC for 2 resin swaps, and they're about $1 million each, so that's expensive. So if we can cut out that $1 million swap in the middle of next year and just go to our permanent solution, we'll all be better off, because then we can just breathe a sigh of relief,
either or,
all of it, and then we will just be moving ahead with resin being swapped out every 20 years instead of 6 months.
Yes, and that was going to be my next question, because what some people might not know is this resin is actually going to stay in the system. In fact, I didn't even know this until I watched the meeting a couple weeks ago. But the resin's going to stay there. It will just last that much longer because the granular activated carbon system before it will have taken everything out.
Yeah, so you probably heard Eric talking about the VOCs that it's pulling out. And so that has to do with like water quality and clarity and things like that. So before the new treatment facility, you probably noticed sometimes the water was kind of I don't know, an orangish color. So we're pulling that out with that resin too. So it's good. It's volatile organic compounds is VOCs, if you hear that again. So that's what we're pulling out. We got a lot of carbon in our water, tell you what.
Yeah, and so from this point on though, the granular activated carbon system will still work even with these 4 new compounds thrown in the mix.
That's our understanding. You know, of course, I'm watching other media elsewhere in the world and nation, and you know, reading about how their GAC units are working, and you know, it's been interesting. So stay tuned. That's the effort, though. We assume that this will get us to our permanent solution and be done with this.
And there will still be then non-detect levels of PFAS.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for with
in the water
GAC.
delivery.
Yep. And it'll be the same thing. We'll be testing once we know how far along we are with this GAC system. We'll be testing regularly to make sure that breakthrough. If you want to get really nerdy, you can look at the design of the GAC unit, and there's going to be 12 different vessels. And so like these big, you probably saw similar vessels inside the plant now. And there'll be 12 of them, and each of them are kind of partnered together. So these 6 partners. And so the lead system and then the leg system. So the lead system will take all of it out, and then it goes through that leg system. Once it starts breaking through in lead, it'll still get sucked up by the leg, but we'll have to swap out that vessel.
Sure. Wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm storing it anymore. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's what you signed up for, right?
I did. I thought I was going to be doing a lot of different things here, but here we are. Water's my issue.
So on that front, we've got that one covered.
Yep, moving ahead.
We still have the lead service lines in Wausau.
8,000 to go.
8,000 to go. Plans to get that done over about 5 years, including a couple years of replacing 2,000 of them a year. That's extremely
it kind of gives
aggressive.
me a little PTSD from TDS tearing up the whole city for broadband. But yeah.
Right. And but I mean, how realistic is this plan right now that was presented? And then later on, I guess we'll talk, where are we as far as an ordinance goes?
Yes. Okay, so we are doing kind of a pilot year. We really are excited about the idea of getting it done in 5 years. We're nervous about how do we collect those funds and make sure that we're not then pushing it back onto the ratepayers again, because we've been through a lot. So that's the effort. So I've spent, I suppose 2 weeks ago now, when you're seeing this, I spent the week reaching out to a variety of foundations, our government partners, federal, state, everyone, trying to get people excited about the fact that we're doing this kind of unique program to replace all of our lead service lines. And actually, I've had a lot of outreach back. People are excited. Organizations like the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and the Joyce Foundation, like, it's a lot. So we're hoping to be able to cover those costs so that it doesn't go back on the ratepayers. That's what we're working on. So we'll work with our DNR partners to make sure we can spend the funds they're giving us for lead service line replacement on the things we want to. A lot of outreach, multiple languages, multiple ways. So that's kind of the effort we're working on. So 1 year, we'll analyze how we're doing, probably middle of next year, or maybe once we start down that line, and we'll see if we can be as aggressive as we want to be.
So
my hope is that we are.
Yes, you're talking about 500 replacements next year. I mean, do you have a neighborhood targeted right now as to where that's going to be?
Yeah, they're still working on that a little bit. We have some neighborhoods that are, maybe broken up by census tract. So we're looking at the most kind of vulnerable census tract. So we're looking at those places and making sure that it aligns with kind of our street schedule, because we want to do it all at the same time. Our side, the public side, in the street, and then we want to go all the way up to the meter in people's houses. So that's the effort. I couldn't tell you what the streets are, but I did look at a big map earlier this week, and I suppose last week, and it looks good to me. So we'll see how this goes.
So then, as far as paying for this goes, again, we're looking at possibly getting 75 to 85% right up front. That's would be federal money, DNR money, things like that.
Yep.
I know your goal is to have as either no bill to the ratepayer, ideally, or as small of a bill as possible to the ratepayer.
That's the effort. So right now what we're working on is, there's very limited ways in which we can use that funding. And so it's all for the private side. Like when the DNR gives us that funding, it's for the private side lead service line. So that's what they want it to go to, and then we figure out how to pay for that public side. So we've got a couple of different revenue sources we're looking at, especially when it comes to grants. We have CDBG funding, especially for those targeted neighborhoods. So we have some other opportunities there to pull. We had a really great meeting with some of the financing folks at the DNR, so we're excited to get them thinking in different ways too. So they told us that you're a little aggressive on this, aren't you? And yes we are. Let's get it done. Then we don't have to worry about this anymore.
Mm-hmm. So as far as the timeline goes, we've got that down. We've got hopefully funding down.
Yep.
I guess the last part about this then is, are there actually going to be enough people to do this work?
Yeah.
That's another thing I'm sure you've thought about.
Yeah, so we talked a lot about that. How do we make sure that we have enough workers? And so that's why we're partnering with that group, CIP is what they're called. And they tell us they're going to be able to recruit the number of plumbers, they're going to be able to train, they're going to be able to work with unions to get people up here. And when I say up here, I'm assuming, we talked a lot about, like, what does a local work mean? Is it Wausau only? And so if it is, well, that's definitely, we don't have enough people. Is it Marathon County? Is it 7 counties? Is it the state? So, those are kind of conversations we're having right now of how do we define local. My inclination is that we want to be as local as possible. So we're developing workers in our area to be able to do these really great jobs for people. I mean, that's a great skill to have. So we'll continue pushing, but they tell me if we're in this, they will find us the plumbers. So here we go.
All right. Yeah, I like the enthusiasm. I like the leap before you look mentality there for those of you that are Star Trek fans.
We're looking and leaping.
Yeah. So I know, and one of the other things that was talked about extensively at the last meeting was really the nation kind of looking at how Wausau is handling this.
Yep.
For some of us from the inside, we might not say, okay, well, it just looks like we're getting a municipal project done.
Right.
Why is the nation kind of looking at how we're handling this here?
Yeah, so, obviously starting off in January when I was invited to the White House to talk about lead pipes, they wanted people who were doing things or able to do things or were enthusiastic to do things. So I don't know, we got targeted for that, and the state signed on to this accelerator program. So yes, but we struggle in government, I think, with moving quickly to address a problem. And, good on us. We can plan a 30-year plan and follow through and get it done. But really, we want to get this all out of our water, right? We don't need lead. And so that's why they're looking at us, because we are doing a different type of program. It's performance-based instead of your usual, RFP, wait a couple months, do all these things. This is more nimble. So I guess it's been in state law since the 90s, but really nobody uses it because it takes a lot of work to get it done. And that's what we're doing now, that groundwork. So they're looking at us because we're just using a completely different system to do this. And obviously we want them to come with us in Wausau and celebrate and feel good about what we're doing too.
Yeah, and
pay for it.
That too, as well. So ultimately, do you see a way that the the ratepayers or the homeowners do have to pay into this system? Is that going to be, say, the last resort?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly what those numbers look like until we get the payment that we're getting from the state. So basically, what we're telling CIP is like, you'll replace every lead service line for this cost, and we expect that our funding that we have will cover the cost of that. So that's kind of what we're working on. We are expecting in the next 6 weeks to get our money from the DNR, I think is the funder. So we're expecting to get at least notification of that. So then we'll have a better idea of what we can do.
Mm-hmm. That's 12 minutes on just water.
I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about the goats?
Why not?
They're back.
Let's end on something.
They're back.
Let's end on something good.
Yeah, they're back for a short amount of time.
Limited time engagement.
Limited time, yeah. So if you're seeing this video, you're going to want to get over there and check them out if that's your thing. So they're visiting us to see if maybe a late season little grazing will help us with the invasive species. So we want them to be dead and we don't want them to come back. So that's why we're doing multiple times. Also, I've heard that the DNR is going to come out and check out our project and see if they like it. I'm still encouraging them to hire goats in every county so that they can do stuff like this, and the public loves it. Mm-hmm. It's cheap.
Yeah,
so much cheaper
than chemicals and
in all possible ways.
Yeah, seeping into the groundwater, whatever it is, cancer causing to those who have sprayed them. I tell everybody I'm not going to get cancer because of how much Mountain Dew I drink. I'm going to get cancer because I had to deal with Roundup when I was a teenager. So
no, I am not a doctor, so or researcher in this, but yeah, I think it's probably better for all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't even mention our new chiefs. Congratulations to Matt Barnes, named our new police chief, and congratulations to Jeremy Kopp, who's our new fire chief, who will be starting in December.
Mm-hmm. Why is it important to stay in-house with these two hires?
We had 6 listening sessions with these departments, and, we were curious what they thought about their culture, what they needed out of a leader, all these things. And overwhelmingly, the employees of these departments said, we like the direction we're going. We are a little bit nervous about the fact that you're doing this nationwide. We get it. We want to make sure we have the best chief, but we think that our development strategy in our departments is getting us where we need to go. That's not always the case with every community or even with Wausau in the past, right? We've taken from outside as well. So this is really good. We appreciate the cultural direction we're going, and we know that these guys got it. So I hope the community's excited.
All right. Well, as always, we appreciate the time. We'll look forward to chatting again next month.
Yeah.
All right.